people of the internet, and welcome to another television sort of series review. I haven't done one of these in a while though, but for this particular review, my friend and I are going to cover the first season. Oh, that's right, all 4 episodes. I know it's a big daunting task, but don't worry, we got through it. Of the Netflix exclusive series, Castlevania, the animated adaptation of the very classic, well-revered video game series that has been around since the days of the NES. Now, here with me to review the series is none other than my animator friend. Give it up for Crookedlore Productions.
Good evening, children of the night, aka Kaiju Noir.
Yeah, I guess I'm a Children of the Night. I mean,
aka my brobot in disguise.
Robot, I like that phrase. I like that. Let's run with it. Okay then, so how have you been, man?
I have been doing pretty well, getting the next episode done, working on my book.
Excellent, excellent. And so, now to get things started, what has been your experience with the Castlevania franchise?
A funny thing about that, do you remember those plug-and-play games, which are just like little controllers you plug into a TV?
Right, yeah, I'm familiar with those things.
I had one that had a bunch of random video games on. They weren't even from like the same company, but Castlevania was one of them.
Okay, yeah, Castlevania, was it the original NES Castlevania?
Yeah, I believe so. I know it was the very first one because it wasn't 2 or anything.
Right. There weren't any day and night stages or multiple characters.
No, that.
Okay. And so ever since then, have you been able to play any other games since then?
No, I have not, but I do follow it just because I always thought the plot was interesting. I always liked Dracula. But I first heard about the series on a channel called Alpha Omega Sin, where he talked about this being in a work in progress. That was the only time I heard about it for a long time until a while back we got the teaser trailer.
Right. And so, what were your hopes for the Castlevania series? And overall, do you think that did it meet your expectations? Did it not, or did it exceed them?
Now, I've been wanting for a long time an adult action cartoon.
Oh yeah, we've definitely been lacking a lot of those in here in America.
Yeah, the last one I could think of would be Spawn.
Yeah, that was probably the first one. It was very innovative for its time.
Yeah. There were other ones that took adult elements, kind of like the Justice League cartoons and all that. But they weren't. But they were more family friendly still.
Yeah. And anytime we ever get animation for an older audience, it has always been primetime sitcom, The Simpsons, Family Guy, The Cleveland Show, American Dad, Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill, and occasionally we get some quirky little comedies or slice of life type of animated shows on MTV, like Daria, Beavis and Butthead, or maybe even something more surreal like The Max or Aeon Flux. But
or Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, yeah. The Rick and Morty is probably another one that's kind of comedy, but it's not strictly a comedy. There's some
it has serious moments in it.
Yeah.
That's why I like it. I like when
right.
you could change a genre every once in a while in the story.
Right. But in terms of strict action, even not adult action, just mature action, that has been on the real decline for a long time. What happened to Young Justice, which thankfully is coming back in the near future. See, Symbionic Titan was canceled after just 1 season. I was honestly surprised that we were able to get Samurai Jack, which was, for all intents and purposes, a very mature and adult-oriented final season.
I was expecting it to come back, but I wasn't expecting it to be aimed towards adults.
Right. I think that's probably why stuff like Samurai Jack and Castlevania Season 1 are in such small quantities, where because they're aimed, I guess the way producers see it is they're aimed at a very niche demographic, and so they aren't whatever investors they were able to get for their project, they weren't able to get enough money for a lot of episodes, so that's why they kept things on a small scale. I actually
heard the story how they brought back Samurai Jack.
Oh really? How was that?
Apparently the creator sent an email to one of the higher ups at Cartoon Network asking, "Can I bring back Samurai Jack?" And they said, "Sure." That was literally it.
All this time, Genndy Tartakovsky could have just asked one of the head representatives of Cartoon Network.
It's like this. I forgot these guys aren't Disney. They like me here.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, thank you very much for that, for sharing your thoughts. As for me and Castlevania, my first exposure to the series was through the Angry Video Game Nerd, because unfortunately, being a child of the 90s, whose first console was the Nintendo 64, I never grew up with any of the classic series, nor did I grow up with Symphony of the Night like a lot of people have. And and probably the first game I ever came across was Dawn of Sorrows for the Nintendo DS. Maybe I may have, perhaps I have gotten that name wrong, but ever since I got into the Angry Video Game Nerd, he has given me like new appreciation for these older video games, and has given me like the motivation to check out these games that I have missed out due to having been born after these games. And so I really grew attached to the first Castlevania game. I actually own a physical cartridge of the original Castlevania game, and I've been meaning to get
What kind of Indiana Jones adventure did you go on to find that?
I went to the lost land of swap meet for that. I remember it was the year of 2012 where I got my first job, and I spent most of my money on scouring, going to the swap meets every weekend with my buddies to track down old Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 games. Although I haven't.
And this happened in 2012.
In 2012, yeah. Do you have
before
swap
or
meets?
after the apocalypse?
I want to say this was definitely before. It was during the summer of 2012, so this was more before the December 23rd non-apocalypse.
Most boring apocalypse I've been a part of.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe the Aegers came early and decided to cancel it. Do you have swap meets where you live? Where they're just like what do you call them? Flea markets. That's another word for them.
Yeah, we do have flea markets, yes.
Okay.
And I do see a lot of old video games like Nintendo 64s, even giant arcade systems.
Oh, nice. So I've been a big fan of the original Castlevania. I played a little bit of Super Castlevania 4. The thing I love most is the music of those games. I would often listen to them here and there. In fact, they're on YouTube. There's this badass 80s style synthwave cover of 3 of the most iconic tunes from the franchise. So maybe I'll put a little bit of that music at the to bookend this review. So I was pretty excited when I learned that Adi Shankar was going to be a producer of this animated series, because for those who don't know, Adi Shankar, he is a big-time Hollywood producer. He was the guy he was the guy responsible for making the 2012 Dread movie. He also helped produce the Power/Rangers quote-unquote fan film. Well, let's see, what else did he also created the fan film for, I believe it was Punisher Dirty Laundry, and I believe he also made what was it called? A Venom Truth and Journalism.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
So this guy, he's always into hardcore, R-rated material that's fun, over-the-top action for adults specifically. That's why he's always wanted to do something. He wanted to take stuff that he loved from his childhood, and he wanted to produce something big. In fact, he's always, if you follow him on Facebook, he's always trying to pitch a new project out there. It's oh, what if we made a R-rated Metroid movie? Oh, what if we pitched an R-rated Mega Man X movie? What if we do
an R-rated Courage the Cowardly Dog?
R-rated Courage the Cowardly Dog, yeah. I feel like half the time he's just doing this just to get attention. So that his name can be in whatever geek website, hey, a Dread producer wants to create R-rated Mega Man. So just to get headlines and just to get attention for his other projects. I'm not going to blame, as silly as some of his ideas may be, I'm not going to blame him for trying to, get his name out there and trying to bring attention to his projects. But I remember he was really obsessed with Castlevania on Facebook, and I saw the slow progress of that series, and I'm really glad to have seen that this project of his finally came into being. Not a fan film, not a fan animation, but a legit official adaptation of this beloved franchise. And while you and I may not be hardcore fans of the franchise, I believe you and I are really big fans, at least of the idea, the concepts, the mythos, the family of vampires. Exactly. Vampire hunters who go out and save the world from Dracula and other gothic what do you call Universal monster-esque creatures. And so, yeah, that's what brought us here to this 4-episode season.
It's a classic concept, but it's the most interesting concept. It's a fun concept you really can't go wrong with.
Right, yeah. It's basically taking like the old stories of wizards and monsters and sorcerers and monster hunters and kind of
Dracula and Van Helsing.
Dracula Van Helsing, yeah. It's basically taking the idea of Dracula and Van Helsing and kind of giving it a very like over-the-top, action-oriented, horror-themed project. Yeah. So what exactly happens within these 4 episodes? Well, the first episode kind of sticks out from the rest, where it focuses solely on Dracula and gives his, not so much his backstory, but gives him
his motivation.
Exactly. Yes, it's It's there to detail his motivations and to show the audience why he's so pissed at humanity and why he wants to wipe out. What was the name of the country? Wallachia?
I think it was Wallachia. I can never remember that name.
Yeah, I think it was, Wallachia. Well, part of me wants to say Wakanda, but was like, no, wait, that's Black Panther.
That would have been awesome, though.
Maybe, yeah. So, he wants to wipe out So what happens is he falls in love with a
scientist.
A human scientist who wants to become a doctor and wants to study under Dracula's wing. And so
she's a woman of science, so she went to a vampire.
Yeah, but she did. It's funny because I liked her interactions with Dracula, where she's not into the superstitions. He doesn't care. She doesn't care if he's like a creature of the night. She's more fascinated with his breakthroughs in science. You can see him in his laboratory. He seems to have discovered working electricity powered machinery far before Thomas Edison came into the picture. And unfortunately, she is seen as a witch by the Catholic Church, and she's burned at the stake, which causes Dracula to say, "Okay, fuck this. No more Mr. Nice Guy. All of you are dead within a year."
Now, I have to say this. They only had 5 minutes together on screen, but they developed their relationship perfectly right there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. And they were able to make their relationship seem believable, both the beginning and the end, sadly. Despite only seeing the bookends of their relationship, it felt very compelling. And so we cut to another location entirely, where we are now in, Greshit. In Greshit, we are introduced to Trevor Belmont, the last son of the Belmont family, which is a very long lineage of vampire and monster hunters. His family was excommunicated by the church. He and his family's reputation was like thrown down the sewers. Humanity has turned his back on him. And so he has his grudge against humanity and prefers to just leave them to die on their own while he just sits in the background. However, as he approaches, for the remaining 3 episodes, we follow his journey into Greshit and his experiences with a group of travelers known a group of travelers known as the Speakers, which are a group of scholars that collect information and spread their story through words as opposed to writing. And so eventually these speakers are now persecuted by the church, by the Catholic Church within Greshit, believing that they are the cause for all these demons and monsters for attacking their city, specifically unaware that it was the Catholic Church's own decisions that led to the demons to attack their city in the first place. So Trevor Belmont has to save the speakers, save the city, and at the same time try to not redeem himself, but kind of like find the motivation to become that vampire hunter once again and to resume the duties of the Belmont family. So that is the basic gist of what goes on in Castlevania Season 1. So what were your thoughts on like the approach to this season and the idea of having Episode 1 narratively almost feel very distant from Episodes 2 through 4?
Personally, I think that was a brilliant move on their parts. It was something not many other series have done.
Okay, yeah. I noticed that some people have complained about that, but for me personally, it never bothered me all that much. And also, a lot of people have complained about the length of this season. But
I actually had theories on why they did this. I don't think
yeah,
they really explained it. But
okay,
there's two theories in mind. One, it's just to test out, see if it would work for an audience.
right.
Because something like this would probably be hard to do to get a lot of interest in.
Mm-hmm.
The other one would probably be money, because look at the animation. You know that's not cheap.
Oh yeah, definitely not. And to talk about the animation a bit earlier, bring up the animation a bit early. I noticed that this is the kind of animation that seems to be. I don't know who did what animation studio did this, but it feels a lot like the quality of animation you would see in Avatar: The Last Airbender or The Legend of Korra. Although, unlike those two series where they had to stretch their budget across multiple seasons and far more episodes, this one, it feels like the animation was able to move at a much smoother frame rate, and so there's a lot of detail, a lot of work put into this, and so perhaps it was a blessing in disguise that they only had 4 episodes so that they can pool all their resources into this small amount of work.
That's what I was thinking too, because like I said, people want more of it, but at the same time, people want it to look good.
Right. And I also noticed it reminds me a bit of the first season of Breaking Bad, whereas like the future seasons of Breaking Bad would be anywhere from like 12 to 14 episodes. Meanwhile, the first season is very short at only 7 episodes. So this does feel like a prelude to what we would normally expect out of a Castlevania story. Where
they are extending next season.
Yeah, that is really good to hear, because I'm pretty sure from some hardcore fans, they were disappointed that it did not feature Trevor Belmont and his gang storming into Dracula's castle, and each episode being like a level in Dracula's castle until they get to Dracula himself. Rather, we do get to see Dracula early on, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a really good decision, because he's the main baddie, so you want to get the audience familiar with who he is so we can get ready so he can like set the stage and the universe, and eventually save him for next season. Meanwhile, the next 3 episodes are more like a prelude as to what's going to occur next time.
Now I have to say this, Dracula, I think they did perfectly. Just for that one episode, they did perfectly for him.
Yeah. I do like that. It doesn't feel like they were trying to go for the traditional, or I guess what some people might say, the cliche Bela Lugosi, Romanian style.
Evil for the sake of being evil.
Yeah. Or like, or even or do something like that so many other Draculas have done in the past, where again they just copy the performance of Bela Lugosi. Welcome, creatures of the night. What music do they make? Or I can't remember quotes for shit. But
I don't think that'd be good for an action series nowadays.
No, I mean that's the kind of Dracula that we use in comedies nowadays, or make into like cartoon characters like Count Chocula or the Count from Sesame Street. Or
Hotel Transylvania, which I believe this is a prequel to. It's very fucked up to think of like that.
Yeah, I guess so. So, yeah, I would say though this version of Dracula, he seems like a much more calm, more reserved, I guess you could say more civilized individual, more of a shut-in, really, at the beginning of the series. Wants to keep to himself, enjoys the privacy of his own abode, and what he does, it really is kind of understandable. And where he just wants to, he is seeking retribution for the death of his wife. And he does show some sympathy, such as that one instance where he spared the life of that one human who preferred not to attend his wife's burning.
Yes.
So this person is capable, and it will be interesting to see his interactions with Trevor, Sypha, and even Alucard, his own son, as revealed by the end of the series. Let's see, what was your thoughts on the rest of the cast?
Now, I'm going to say I love Trevor. I think he's the best character of the series, even though it's only 4 episodes so far.
Is it me, or did Trevor kind of reminded you a bit of Jack Sparrow, especially during his introduction in that drunken bar fight?
I thought he was a mix between Jack Sparrow and Squall from Final Fantasy, if I pronounce that name right.
You know, looking at his character design, he does remind me, now that you mention it, he does remind me a bit of Squall. And I really do like that. I like his design also. I've never played Castlevania 3, so I don't know how close his design is to the original one. But the thing I really like about his design is that like large fur coat that he wears for most of the series. And I like how by the end of the series he loses that coat, exposing the family crest both on his chest and his back, where it's like, it almost seemed like metaphorically by taking off that large coat on his, it's like he's removing a large weight off his shoulders as he's ready to embrace his family tradition.
Yeah, with the cape, he always looked like he wasn't prepared.
Yeah, it always been like he kind of moves around a bit like awkwardly or clumsily.
Yeah, even looks like a hunch on his back.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of looks a bit awkward, or he's trying to kind of cover himself as if like he's covering himself in shame.
Yeah, now one thing I want to bring up, I really like the bar fight.
Yeah, I do. So,
because
what are your reasons?
Usually when you do things like that, the main character is always like a super badass and wins easily. He had trouble in this fight.
Right, yeah. And I do like that you see a lot of his cocky attitude, and you can even see where his gullibility lies, where he could have easily have avoided that bar fight entirely had he just up and left the bar. But no, he had to go in for one more drink and end up getting his ass kicked in that bar fight. Or rather, maybe he was trying to interrupt their speaking because he didn't want to hear any more bad talk about his family.
That's what I was going with,
mm-hmm.
because that just seemed like what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And let's see. And I do like his overall character arc, where by the end he's like searching for like a sense of purpose in his life. How he learns about the selflessness of the speakers, and that kind of rubs off on him, and how he eventually achieves his that sense of selflessness on his own and willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of others.
I always like the stories where the main character doesn't want to be the hero.
Yeah. Actually, the whole premise itself kind of is very familiar to like one of those Sergio Leone films, like what was it called? A Fistful of Dollars. Was that the name of the movie? Fistful of Dollars, where it's like an old town in the middle of nowhere, and the stranger walks into town. The stranger wants no part in any of the conflict going on, but he eventually gets wrapped up in the conflict as he decides to help these people out. It's a very classic premise for kind of like a reluctant hero story.
Yeah.
And I think it also, once again, it's a tried and true template for a story, and it works well here.
Yeah. Now, next is, I don't really want to talk about the female character because I don't have much to say about her because she plays her role in it, but like I said, I don't have anything to say about her. But Alucard is what I want to talk about next.
Okay. I will say that before we move to Alucard, I did like Sypha. She doesn't have a lot to do, but I think she did serve her role in further motivating Trevor for eventually embracing the role of the hero. And she is pretty cool within those fight sequences, especially by the end where it's revealed that she's a magician who can wield both fire and magic spells.
Yeah, like I said, for some reason I just didn't have much to say about her. I don't know why, but Alucard, I think it's interesting. He had the shortest role of any other character in the whole series, but yet they still fit in everything you need to know about him. Yeah,
they did. I did like that they teased his presence early on in the story, or like roughly like near the end of episode 1, and his presence is also hinted at throughout for episodes 2 and 3 when they're Trevor, Sypha, and the speakers are talking about this like local legend of the sleeping hero. And how they feel like if they wake up the hero, then they'll be able to get the backup they need to fight Dracula and his hordes of demons. And I did like that. It was a nice reveal that, oh, the hero turns out to be a vampire, and it kind of, for people who aren't fans of Castlevania, who have no idea who Alucard is, they might see this guy as just another vampire, and who also acted as a really nice final boss type of character for this season, like the final challenge, and his fight with Trevor shows just how far both Trevor and Sypha has come in terms of being heroes and learning to put their faith and trust in one another as opposed to relying on superstition and fables.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Are we going to talk about the design choices next, or is there anything else?
Let's see. Oh, I do want to talk about the bishop himself, because it's kind of a really ballsy move, I think, to make like the Catholic Church the law and order. Yeah, the law and order, and like the primary antagonist for this first season. Not even after episode 1, even within episode 1, the Catholic Church was shown as a great antagonistic force, and it was in the 1400s, and during this era, the Catholic Church was very controlling. Yes. They had a large control over the government, over the lives of the people of Europe, and they had this mentality where it's like, you're either with us or against us. We are not tolerant of any other superstitious beliefs. If you do not follow the order, the Catholic order, to a T, then you are therefore excommunicated, you are banished, you are no longer a part of our society, you are a witch, they demonize anyone who choose to live their lives through a different means. And it's one of those things where it's like anything that's different or unfamiliar to them, they automatically deem as scary or demonic or from hell, which led to them targeting the female scientist, Dracula's wife, as a witch simply for having this advanced technology within her own house. And the bishop himself was also not compelling, but more of a very intimidating antagonistic force, because I think one of the best villains, in my opinion, are the kind who believe that what they are doing is good overall. And I liked his one scene with Trevor, where Trevor was like, "Oh, holy shit, this guy has drunk his own Kool-Aid a bit too much there." And you can tell, like, he's like the bishop of what's the name of the city again? Greshid. The Bishop of Greshid. He was the one responsible for burning Dracula's wife at the stake. And despite the fact that he claims that he wants to kill the speakers in the name of God in order to save the city of Greshid, in reality, you can tell he's very megalomaniacal. He is obsessed with controlling everyone. He's obsessed with making the city and potentially the entire Catholic religion. He wants to make everything perfect the way he sees fit, and I loved his comeuppance by the end of the season, where all those demons come out and they're like, "You are a piece of shit. Even God thinks you're a piece of shit. All of this is on you, man."
Yeah, but yeah, I love that, especially seeing the glow stick demon, as I've been calling it.
Yeah, and the glow stick demon during his one scene was also really cool and had a really sweet, intimidating voice. That does remind me, the one thing I wasn't really a fan of when it came to like the pacing of this series was during the last episode, where the first half of the series focused on Belmont and Sypha trying to fight off the demons and save Greshit. But then, like, halfway through the episode, they immediately fall underground, and they kind of ignore Greshid for the rest of the final episode, and instead focus solely on exploring the catacombs and fighting Alucard by the end. So during that whole time, I was thinking, what happened to the demons and Greshid? You kind of already established that Trevor was able to teach these humans to defend themselves now successfully against the demons, but what happened to Greshid? Are we going to go back to that? It was kind of
that's fine.
It felt like a very abrupt. Shift in scene or in location. That was my only mark against the storytelling. Let's see.
Actually, one thing I didn't like is how fast the bishop actually died. You think he'd be a character that would last a little longer in the series?
Yeah, but I guess because they really want to get into, I have a feeling that for the next season they're gonna actually go to Dracula's castle at some point. So they figured because the bishop wants to stay in Greshit and the bishop wants to control Greshit and rebuild the Catholic religion from that spot, there really is no more. There's no need for him beyond season 1. Like eventually the characters will just go on their merry way to Dracula's castle. And so it's not like the bishop is going to, like, in some plausible way, continue to follow them or continue to be a threat. So I feel like perhaps the writers thought that he outlived it, or he served his purpose, so it was time to kill him off.
But you are right. They did give him kind of a cool death.
Yeah. And even though there is a lot of gore and a lot of bodily harm in the series, I liked how his death in particular was actually shown off-screen.
I actually never thought of that.
Yeah, because usually it's like what you don't see that's like the most impactful, I think.
To me, the most impactful was seeing a child cut in half.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was the case. We also see like a demon with a baby in his mouth. I guess this would be a good transition to talk about like the gore for this series because this series does not hold back at all when it comes to the visuals. Yeah.
But the best visuals, in my opinion, were the fire effects or anything with that type of lighting.
Yeah, I would say so. This series has a wonderful use of like red coloring, reds, oranges, yellows. This series, from a technical standpoint, looks absolutely gorgeous. When it's really, and the animation really stands out when it's kind of showing this like, how would I say, this very demonic, frightening, hell on earth type of vibe.
And with the visuals alone, it actually made it scary. Not scary as like jump scare, just unsettling.
Yeah. It's a lot of its horror element is very atmospheric, I would say.
Yeah.
And a lot of it works in my opinion.
Yeah. It's not, like I said, it's scary just because of how it looks.
Right. And as for the action scenes, I feel like they were very well executed. As I mentioned before, the animation here is very on par with what you would see in Legend of Korra or Avatar: The Last Airbender. I would say the animation actually feels a lot smoother here. And I noticed this one trick where whenever characters would move very fast, they would kind of blur the motion. The animators would provide this like motion blur. And I'm not sure if that was used to, in a way, kind of as like a way, it's a workaround to use less frames of animation per second and not have us notice it as much. But I feel like it was a really neat technique.
Yeah, the whole animation actually reminds me of a Fantastic Four cartoon that came out years ago.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. It was called, like, what was it called? Like, Fantastic Four...
Earth's Greatest Heroes?
Earth's Greatest Heroes, yeah. I remember that. You know what's funny? That's a television series that almost, like, nobody ever talks about.
I know. It had great animation. I enjoyed the designs of the characters.
Yeah, and I remember something about that animation where there was always, like, a very bright... what's the name? Bloom. They had like a very large bloom effect for a lot of its episodes.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar I don't know if you're familiar with that term, where there's like a very large glowy effect in a lot of the scenes. And so whenever they showed the fire, they also had that nice glowing bloom effect as well here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I actually connected the animations between the two. I'm wondering if they had anything to do with each other.
Okay, yeah, cool. Let's see. What else about the animation and the action did you enjoy yourself, personally?
Well, like we said when we were talking about adult animations, it's just refreshing seeing something like this done in 2D.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree so as well. And as for the animation, I noticed that one of the animations is Frederator Studios, and Frederator, yeah.
I say that's right. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just said that's right.
Yeah, Frederator Studios, they've been around for probably since the 90s and early 2000s. They produced some television shows such as What a Cartoon, Oh Yeah Cartoons, Fairly Odd Parents, Chalk Zone, My Life as a Teenage Robot, Adventure Time, Bravest Warriors. And the other animation studio they got was Powerhouse Animation Studios. As for Powerhouse, I'm not very familiar with them at all. Let's see. Oh, apparently they did... let's see, that's not it. Right now I'm currently on Wikipedia, and looks like they're kind of these animation studios that's like done small projects for... It's like they've never done like big projects, rather they've done like smaller things here and there for a lot of people. So I'm guessing that Frederator Studios did like the bulk of the work, with Powerhouse kind of in there to help them out as like a secondary team. I could be wrong though.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Not you being wrong, the other thing.
Okay, and so what were your opinions on the art style itself?
Now, what I like about the art style, it's anime, but it's not like over-the-top anime, so non-anime fans could enjoy this.
Yeah. It's kind of difficult to put my finger on what style of anime they were trying to go for, but you're right. It does have a bit of that influence. They had very certain characters have very shiny eyes. They have very angular faces, pointy noses, spiky hair, especially like how we just mentioned that Trevor himself looks a bit like Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. So there is that.
Even his beard's kind of anime-ish.
Yeah, where it's just like lines. Yeah, it's not like a full beard. It's like what would you say, a stubble. He's got a bit of a stubble going on, and it's just portrayed by straight lines. So there is definitely, like you mentioned, there is definitely that anime influence there, but it doesn't feel like super Japanese in that sort of way. Like if you look at Voltron Legendary Defender, it does feel very anime-ish, and it even goes for that anime-style humor where characters would have these very exaggerated facial expressions. But that's not the case here, and they actually go for a more grounded reactions when it comes to how the characters react to whatever is going around, whatever event is happening around them.
But you will see like a little teardrop on their heads when they're nervous.
I did not notice that, but that is a good idea. That is a good thing that he pointed out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's definitely noticeable when there's fire, like when the bishop was talking to, I guess, the mayor, or I'm not really sure who he was in the beginning when Dracula's wife was being burnt. Mm-hmm. When he said he practiced science, he did get nervous, and you can see the glare of the teardrop.
Okay, I see there. And so, as for the creature designs, we didn't get a lot of variety when it came to the monsters themselves. We mostly just saw like kind of like generic bat-like creatures. We did see this, the stone-eyed golem, or the stone-eyed cyclops. That was a really neat creature that we saw, like, halfway through the series. We did saw the, as you mentioned, the glow-stick demon. He's probably the one that kind of stuck out from the rest. It kind of seemed to be like the leader of this squad of demons that attacked Gresham during the season finale. So,
sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. So, other than that, oh yeah, what were did you have any opinions on the creatures' designs themselves?
Well, like you said, they're pretty generic, but you know, simpler the better sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
okay.
One thing that actually stuck out to me was I call them fetus babies because they fall from the things that fell from the sky.
Oh yeah, those were like the first creatures that fell to Earth.
Yeah, those stuck out a lot more to me than the bat creatures.
Okay, I can see that. They didn't really leave that much. Okay.
Just because it's so eerie looking.
Okay, they didn't really leave that much of an impact on me because we didn't really see them do anything other than like we saw them fly to Earth. They grew their wings and they kind of fly around, but I don't think we see them like do much of anything afterwards for the first episode, and we never see them return again.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. Is there anything else that we have to cover? Is there anything else that's left to cover before we wrap things up?
I want to bring this part up just because this really stuck out to me.
Okay.
after the hordes attacked the town Trevor went to, all these organs, heads mounted on pikes hanging everywhere. Everyone went back to do their jobs. Everyone went back to their jobs like nothing happened.
Yeah, that is a very visually disturbing scene right there, where they're attempting to have some sort of a normal life and clean. I guess they're so desensitized by all the violence that at this point, all the gore and the piked heads and all of the bloodshed is just kind of part of their daily routine now. We see one farmer or one merchant trying to remove the intestines that are hanging on his around his shop. We see people scrubbing blood off the town square, and we see some people trying to carry on with their own businesses.
Yeah, that's just so unsettling to me. It's pretty much like, I don't care if Francis was impaled last night. Get out there and sell some goddamn shoes.
Yeah, that is a pretty amusing thought. So let's see. Other than that, anything else?
Do you still want to talk about other video game adaptations into animation?
Let's see. I guess we could do that because, as I mentioned before, Adi Shankar, he's been talking on Facebook about potentially adapting other video games into mature R-rated projects, and so perhaps, much like how Deadpool kind of opened the door for more R-rated action movies or R-rated superhero movies, like what we eventually got with this year's Logan. It is possible that perhaps Castlevania may have opened the doors in the future for more video game adaptations or more mature animation, both this and Samurai Jack. And so for you, is there any other video game franchise that you would like to see get this treatment? Because as you and I know, and a large portion of the internet knows, video game adaptations have had this like stigma or this very bad reputation of always sucking. Even with something like Assassin's Creed, which had Michael Fassbender behind it and a lot of money poured into its production, still turned out to was still unable to escape that video game adaptation curse. And so, in fact, I would say that before Castlevania, perhaps the best video game adaptations we ever got was the first the first Mortal Kombat movie, and I guess Prince of Persia, which was like that Disney movie that was kind of here and then gone in a flash. That most people said, the Jake Gyllenhaal one. Oh, was that turned into an anime?
Yes, but it wasn't an adaptation. It was kind of a sequel.
Huh. Okay.
A prequel to Devil May Cry 4. It was a prequel to that.
Okay. And of course there's Pokemon, but Pokemon has kind of become its own entity entirely.
And the 90s had a lot of weird video game adaptations in animation.
Yeah. I mean, there was like the Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realms. We had the Double Dragon cartoon that most people probably forgot. We had the Mega Man cartoon.
Darkstalkers.
Oh yeah, I forgot Darkstalkers. I think Street Fighter was adapted into an anime movie and maybe a TV show here and there. Let's see.
There was a lot of OVAs.
Oh yeah, OVAs are definitely a thing. But I guess in terms of like Western productions, I guess like me, Japanese adaptations have turned out to be a bit more successful than Western productions. So in terms of like what you would like to see coming from the stateside, what sort of video game franchise would you like to see get adapted?
Well, almost every video game known to man has already been adapted, so I'm gonna go with something that's not a big...
Except really Nintendo, we had Kirby, the anime, we had the Zelda and Mario cartoons of the past. I'd love to see Metroid.
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like they'd have to do it something kind of like Castlevania. They had to darken up and make it short.
Right, yeah. And I think you can easily do that. Just, a lot of the games within the Metroid series are like taking Samus and placing her in a very, a very maze-like structure, or a very claustrophobic environment, similar to the Alien movies, from which it seemed like Metroid was heavily inspired from.
Yeah, but it'd be really cool to see Samus fight against Ridley in an animated form.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Let's see. Yeah.
But now back to what I would want adapted. I'm going to actually go with a comic book here. I would like to see a Ghost Rider anime series done the same way Spawn was done.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. I can definitely see Ghost Rider working.
Deadpool animated series here soon. That's going to be aimed towards adults. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
it's going to be on FXX with Archer.
Oh, nice. I hope that turns out well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. As for me, I can't really think of too many projects off the top of my head because I've always been more of a movie guy and not so much a game guy. But let's see, anything else I would like to see? Me being a giant monster fan, I would love to see Rampage, but I know that's getting a movie in the future starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So who knows how that's going to turn out?
I know a good one that'd be kind of cool being animated.
What?
I think it was a survival horror video game. We had to take a picture of Ghost. I forget what it was called.
I think was that okay? Was that for the 3DS or was that an older game?
It kept on going, but it was on the PlayStation 2, and they had one for the Wii
U. Okay.
I think it'd be kind of cool seeing that done into an anime form because a lot of anime horror they go really deep into a gore and nets. Ever seen Corpse Party?
Corpse Party. It sounds familiar, but I don't think so. Let's see. Oh, do you remember Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see that Conker, just take that sort of South Park, it's like Looney Tunes meets South Park idea. I'd like to see that being turned into an animated series. Let's see. What was another one off at the top? Oh, I would love to see Beautiful Joe. I know Beautiful Joe had an anime, but I'd like to see something else down the line where Beautiful Joe's this guy who's a fan of Japanese style heroes and he becomes a Japanese style hero himself.
Oh yeah, I remember that. They all in chibi design for some reason.
Yeah, that's always been kind of the deal, even within the games themselves.
Yeah, I remember a lot of Devil May Cry characters always guest appearing in them for some reason.
Yeah. You know what? Zelda could definitely go for a new animated adaptation.
Yeah. Yes, but hopefully they could avoid the last animated series, not do anything like that.
Yeah.
Let's
see.
Hopefully we get something.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get some kind of a family-friendly version of Castlevania.
Where Trevor's going to be like, "Excuse me, Sypha."
Oh God, no.
Let's see. Metal Gear Solid can definitely go for an animated adaptation.
No,
for years
I thought they would have done that by now.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have done that, but for years. They
did that for Halo.
Yeah, they did that. They did a Halo anthology series.
Yeah.
This is more like a cartoon, more cartooniness, but I would love to see Wario get Wario Land series because I love that character.
Right, that could definitely work. It could be made by either Japan or America, and I feel like it could work.
Yeah, totally. Let's see, Banjo-Kazooie could definitely go for an animated series.
As soon as we get a game for it.
Yeah, if he would definitely need the right style kind of writers for that series. Let's see. You know what? I would think maybe Soul Calibur would be very good from the crew. Would match up the aesthetics of the Castlevania series. Just if you remove the gore and put more focus on and less horror, more action.
I could see that. Yeah, that would be cool.
Less red, more a more colorful color palette.
Now, if they did that, I kind of want I still want them to have a guest character in it just for fun.
Have Trevor appear in the show.
Oh God.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Darth Vader.
I think that'd probably open a whole can of worms there, but
it's called Disney. That's the can of worms.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's probably enough for our discussion on Season 1 of Castlevania. So, what are your overall thoughts on the series, and do you recommend Castlevania Season 1?
I highly recommend it, and I'd say it's one of my favorite animated series right now.
All right, excellent. And a final rating?
I would give it... Well, originally, I was going to give it 5 stars, but Dracula's mustache freaks me out a little bit, so I'm going to give it 4 stars.
All right, then. I also heavily enjoyed the series. I believe it is a solid execution or a solid adaptation of the Castlevania franchise. Take something that people have known for years and kind of make something that feels new yet familiar at the same time, and it provides something that's a bit fresh and unique in this day and age where most animation is strictly relegated to either sitcoms or children's shows. If you're itching for some like bloody action-fueled, I guess you can say like Transylvania style action and animation, this is definitely your go-to series. Especially if you're looking for animation that isn't like comedy or isn't so much based on like this what you would typically find on television. This is definitely what up your alley, I would feel. It's got action, it's got horror, it's got gore, it's got witty dialogues, it's got entertaining characters, it's got great art. It's pretty much got everything you need. My only issues being just like the few hiccups here and there in terms of the pacing and the storytelling. Of that, I'm giving Castlevania Season 1 a solid 4 out of 5, and I can't wait to see what Adi Shankar and his production team have in store for Season 2. So those have been our thoughts on Castlevania Season 1. Where can people find you, Crookedlore?
On my YouTube channel, Crookedlore Productions.
And what can they find on Crookedlore Productions?
My web series, Augustine's Crooked Fables, which the next episode is slowly in progress.
And what is that episode about? And what typically occurs in your web series?
My series is pretty much making fun of different anime series and genres. The next one is about the hit anime Keijo. The anime I stay up at night watching, for no particular reason.
Right. Okay, then. So thank you very much, Crookedlore, for being here on the channel once again. And as always, thank you very much for your contributions to the channel. And for anyone who wants to check out, to know what I'm talking about, you can check out any video that I've made since the beginning of 2017, where you can check out the wonderful intro he made for me, as well as our in-progress crossover between my Kaiju Noir review, Chibi Draco Azul version of myself, and his characters, Augustine and Belle, within the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy reviews. So, I have been Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir.
And I've been Crookedlore Productions.
And until next time, everybody, take care.